Wasabi guys, Void here coming back at you with another top 10 video. This time we're going to be looking at the top 10 best Izzet colored cards in the Commander format. As always, we're going to start it off here with the honorable mentions. The first one we have is Steam Augury. Essentially, this is the Izzet version of Fact or Fiction. The only difference though is that it's pretty much in reverse order. You're the one that separates the top 5 cards of your library into 2 piles, and your opponent is the one that gets to select which one. So you could argue as to which one is better, but it's different, so it's a little bit more interesting, I would say, that you have the option of manipulating which cards you get to give to your opponent and what piles. Wish it saw a little bit more play, but as for now, it's definitely worth an honorable mention. Then we have Dack's Duplicate, essentially a much better version of Clone. Has haste into Throne, which obviously synergizes with the commander option Marchesa, who is also going to deal with Dethrone. But that's pretty good though. You get to put a +1/+1 counter on it as long as you're attacking the player with the highest life total. With haste, can't really beat that. However, there are some more efficient versions of clones. We have Phyrexian Metamorph, we have Clever Impersonator, cards that are capable of copying more than just creatures, and that is more important in this format. And then we have Arjun the Shifting Flame. Very interesting as one of the 99, going to give you that extra bit of gas there if you're playing with a commander such as the Locust God. Wheels are very popular in this format. However, he doesn't really add anything else though. He just gets you that extra bit of card draw. You're basically just looking at new cards every time you cast a spell. So it can be a little chaotic, a little out of control there. You have to definitely know what you're doing with this commander in order to make him work. So he's definitely worth an honorable mention. Then we have 2 planeswalkers here, Saheeli Rai and Ral Zarek. Ral Zarek's pretty much just a fun inclusion into a Super Friends deck. Not as practical as Saheeli. Saheeli is good in artifacts. Obviously, her minus is, in my opinion, the best thing about her. Making a token copy of an artifact or a creature, making that also an artifact, is pretty cool. And it also combos pretty easily. Her plus is pretty solid. Scrying's awesome. Her minus, getting 3 different artifacts in a singleton format. I've said this before, she's pretty good. So now on to the actual list here. Number 10, we have Nin the Pain Artist. Very commonly seen as one of the 99 in Nekasar the Mindraiser decks, but she's also pretty good in a group hug strategy. She was originally printed in the Political Puppets deck, so you can fool around, be a little bit political there, deal damage to creatures, and also draw them cards, sort of bargaining with them, hey, you can't have this creature, but you can have these cards instead. So I like that option there. You're not completely hating on the player, but you do have some versatile removal. Another awesome combo here, though, is to get yourself a Stuffy Doll and ping it to death and get yourself a ton of card draw. Very funny interaction there. Number 9 is Dominus of Realty. Each one of your upkeeps, you get to gain control of a target permanent. You get to untap it. It gains haste, so you can gain control of any permanent. A land, an artifact. That versatility is what makes it a very effective card. The main downside here being that it is 5 hybrid blue-red mana, which is a big downside if you want to play this in more than 2 colors. It's not impossible, but you got to make sure you have that mana fixing in order to play a card like this, or you're going to find yourself struggling to play it, but a pretty good card nevertheless. Number 8 is Joyra of the Gitu, a very popular commander in these colors. Very impressive too, the whole suspend mechanic. We don't really have any other commander option that works with that mechanic. Basically, you get to cheat stuff into play. You're paying 2 mana each time you want to cheat something into play. Usually something like an Eldrazi, something that's going to get you a massive creature, a massive payout. Maybe it's something like an Omniscience to get you even more spells out there for free. And she can be quite chaotic and get out of control pretty quickly. You are just paying 2 mana each time you want to do that, but she is still an amazing commander. Number 7 is Dack Fayden, the one planeswalker that I did feel deserved to be on the top 10, and for good reason. His minus allows you to gain control of an artifact. It's not until end of turn, it's just period. You get to gain control of it. His plus is okay. It's basically a loot effect. You draw 2, you discard 2. Not terrible. His ult, though, is pretty awesome. Whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more permanents, you gain control of those permanents. And there are certain cards in the format that you could play specifically to synergize with Dack Fayden that just target it, maybe ping it for 1 damage, or maybe have it fight another creature, then you gain control of it. Something interesting like that. It has an interaction there. You could also find ways to gain control of other permanents as well. He has a lot of potential there. I like all of the abilities. The plus is a good loot effect. It's pretty decent. The minus is where it's at, really. Gaining control of artifacts permanently, basically. You're not going to give them up. Pretty good Planeswalker, only 3 mana. Very cheap. Number 6 is Epic Experiment. You exile the top X cards of your library, and you get to cast any number of instants and sorceries that are also CMC X or less. So the possibilities are incredible with a card like this. If you're playing a deck such as Mizzix, where your deck is just filled with instants and sorceries, this is the card that you want. You're looking at the top of your library there, however many cards you get exiled. Imagine how many different instants or sorceries. It's a good mana sink, really. You want to dump as much mana as possible into X. Yeah, you cast them all in whatever order you want to, and hopefully you get some pretty good instants and sorceries to choose from. But yeah, this is just a brilliant card, and mana sinks are usually pretty good in this format. Number 5 is Izzet, the Firemind. Now, Draco Genius is not on this list, not even an honorable mention, because quite frankly, I just feel like he's significantly weaker. You do have to pay mana into him in order to make him work. With this guy, with this version of Izzet, all you have to do is tap him to draw a card. Whenever you draw a card, you get to ping a target player or a creature with 1 damage for each card you draw in there. So the interaction here is obviously with a card like Curiosity or even Ophidian Eye, something that can constantly just draw yourself out. You can ping your opponents however many times you want to, or you could just win with the obvious Laboratory Maniac. So he's an amazing commander there, pretty good for comboing, but also just a pretty good 1 on the 99 as well. Not overwhelmingly powerful. There are better commanders in these colors, but the fact that he is also pretty solid as 1 of the 99 in an Ecosar deck, in a deck where you already want to deal damage to your opponents whenever you draw cards, that's pretty good too. Number 4 is one of the newest cards on this list here, the Locust God. This guy is fantastic. Whenever you draw a card, you get a 1/1 hasty flying locust token, and it's also blue-red. So yeah, you can't really ask for much better than that. You get these awesome tokens, they're flying, they're hasty, for however many cards you draw. So the ideal combo here is using Wheel of Fortune effects. Hopefully you're getting multiple of them. If you have a combo, maybe Mind Over Matter, anything that can draw you multiple different cards, get you as many Locust tokens as possible. Throw in some Anthem effects, throw in some Overrun effects, whatever you need. It's definitely capable of winning you games just by getting you a ton of those tokens. And one of the other upsides here is the fact that whenever he would die, he gets to return himself to your hand at the beginning of the next end step, like the other gods from Hour of Devastation, which is hilarious. A definite pain to get rid of. And that's amazing. I mean, he makes a perfect commander in these colors because that's exactly what you want to do. You want to get pure value off of drawing cards. Some other Izzet commanders give you value off of casting instants and sorceries. This guy happens to give you a ton of value off of drawing cards. Very powerful commander option. Very powerful as 1 of the 99 as well. In a lot of decks, such as Nekasar the Mindrazor. I know I've mentioned that guy multiple times this video, but it's for a good reason. Izzet seems to do really well in that guy's deck, but even as 1 of the 99 in Storm decks, you can definitely storm off and get a ton of these hasty tokens, deal extra damage there. Pretty powerful option now. Number 3 is Malek Izzet Paragon. You get to play with the top card of your library, Reveal. If it's an instant or sorcery, you get to cast it. So whenever you would cast that instant or sorcery, you get to copy it, which is just fantastic. Again, Izzet colors are usually about instants and sorceries, sometimes about card draw. So the fact that you have a commander who's built in there, you have the ability to copy your instants and sorceries. This is perfect. He makes a perfect addition as 1 of the 99 in other Izzet decks. He makes a great addition in other decks where you just want to get more copies of instants and sorceries, you just want to get more card draw. Maybe you want to copy your card draw spells, stuff like that. Pretty powerful option. He's been a powerful option in this format for a while now. Not something I prefer, but I do know a lot of people love this guy in their Izzet decks, especially as the commander. He's pretty solid. Then number 2, we have quite possibly the best and most popular option for commander with Mizzix of the Iz Magnus. Essentially Animar for Izzet and instants and sorceries. So basically, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery with converted mana cost greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get another experience counter. And instants and sorcery spells, they cost 1 less, basically like Animar for instants and sorceries. So it's incredibly easy to go and storm off with a commander like this. Cost reduction is exactly what you want in Storm anyway. But yeah, control is very popular in this format, and he makes a pretty powerful control option too. cost reduction for your counter spells. There's a lot of fantastic interactions because of that cost reduction, but Mizzix is just so simple there. Can't really go wrong with this commander. Instants and sorceries, again, what you want with these colors, pretty powerful. Then number 1, we have what is, in my opinion, the best card in Izzet colors in this format, and that is Counterflux. You're talking about competing with other control decks. You're talking about, when it comes to auto-includes in these colors, it's hard for me to select any other card that even comes close to being as playable in multiple different decks in these colors than this card does. As one of the 99, you can't really go wrong with a counterspell. I mean, in a control deck, they're pretty much auto-includes. Most people are going to play counterspell. So aside from just the typical 2-mana counterspells, if you're going to be playing for 3-mana counterspells, you might as well have that with the also added benefit of having it uncountered, which is exactly what this card is. And yeah, it can still be stopped by something like Venser Shaper Savant that just bounces it back to your hand. It doesn't counter it, so it's not completely unstoppable, but it is the next best thing. It's basically almost never going to be stopped. Very rarely are you going to be running into those traps where this isn't going to solve your problems. But yeah, having an uncounterable counterspell is exactly what you want in a control deck. So anyway, guys, that was my top 10 for Izzet colored cards in the Commander format. Let me know what you think about these cards. Let me know if there's any other card that was left off of this list, or even the honorable mentions. Definitely want to hear your guys' input. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here, signing off.